The first time the aliens laughed, it was polite. It rolled through the amphitheater of the Coalition command like distant thunder, measured, restrained, the sound of species confident enough to mock without fear of consequence. Holographic displays hovered above the obsidian floor, projecting the comparative profiles of participating forces. Gleaming arcs of alien technology rotated slowly in the air. Plasma lances, gravitic suppressors, neural disruptors. At the bottom of the list, almost as an afterthought, sat a simple, angular silhouette labeled in blocky Terran script. M4A1 Carbine. General Carthel of the Virex Dominion tilted his crested head and allowed a clicking chuckle to escape his mandibles. That, he said, voice translated into flat, clinical tones, is the weapon humanity brings? Across the chamber, other commanders leaned closer to their displays. Optical nodes flickered. Bioluminescent frills pulsed with amusement. Chemical propulsion. Metallic projectiles. Manual feeding. A weapon design lineage that stretched back centuries. In a galaxy where warfare had become an exercise in energy management and computational dominance, the human rifle looked like a fossil. The laughter grew, less polite. Captain Elias Mercer stood at attention beneath the weight of it, hands clasped behind his back, eyes forward. He was tall by human standards, broad-shouldered, his combat armor scarred by old impacts that had been repaired rather than replaced. His face gave nothing away. Years in uniform had trained him to absorb scrutiny without reacting, whether it came from hostile fire or hostile judgment. Behind him stood his squad, 8 men, all silent, all still. Sergeant Daniel Rourke's jaw was set like stone. Specialist Omar Hale stared straight ahead, unblinking. Private First Class Lucas, when adjusted his footing by a fraction of an inch, the only sign of nerves he allowed himself. Slung across every chest was the same weapon the aliens found so entertaining. Mercer did not look at it. He didn't need to. They carry projectile arms into a modern engagement, murmured a Kesh observer, his voice thick with disbelief. Do they lack the capacity for innovation? They lack fear, another replied, more thoughtfully. Carthel gestured, and the hologram shifted, displaying a rotating simulation of the battlefield they were about to contest. A fractured industrial plain on the edge of a dead world. Ruined megastructures. Open kill zones. Limited atmospheric interference. Ideal conditions for advanced targeting systems. Ideal conditions, in other words, for everyone except humans. This demonstration, Carthel said, is intended to assess humanity's proposed role as a ground force auxiliary. Based on their equipment, expectations should remain conservative. Mercer was aware of every word, though the translator did its best to soften the tone. He met Carthel's many-lensed gaze calmly. With respect, General, he said, we're not here to demonstrate equipment. We're here to demonstrate results. That drew a sharper laugh. This one unrestrained. Results are determined by tools, Carthel replied. And your tool is obsolete. Mercer nodded once, accepting the judgment without argument. He had learned long ago that explanations wasted time when belief had already settled. The aliens saw a rifle. Humans saw a promise. The briefing ended shortly after. Dismissal protocols chimed, and the chamber began to empty, alien commanders drifting away in clusters, still exchanging amused observations. Mercer turned on his heel and led his squad toward the dropship bay. Only when the heavy doors sealed behind them did the tension ease, just enough for breath to return. Rourke exhaled through his nose. Guess we're the joke again. Mercer allowed himself a thin smile. Wouldn't be the first time. Hale checked the seating restraints, fingers moving with practiced efficiency. They really think this is a test. It is, Wynne said quietly. Just not for us. The dropship vibrated as its engine spooled, the deck plates humming beneath their boots. Outside, the dead world waited, silent, indifferent. Mercer moved down the line, stopping briefly in front of each man, meeting eyes, offering nothing more than presence. He trusted them. They trusted him. And all of them trusted the weight resting against their armor. When he reached his own seat, Mercer finally looked down and grasped his rifle. The metal was cool, familiar. Scratches marked the handguard, each earned, each remembered. This weapon had been refined through generations of conflict, shaped by failure and survival, stripped of everything unnecessary, and kept brutally simple for one reason. It worked. The dropship pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. 2 minutes to deployment. Mercer racked the charging handle, the sound sharp in the enclosed space. One by one, his squad followed suit. 8 distinct clicks merged into a single, unified declaration. On the command deck above, alien sensors picked up the noise and flagged it as irrelevant. On the ground below, the battlefield waited. And somewhere between orbit and impact, the last echoes of laughter followed the humans down, unaware they were about to end. The dropship shuddered as it pierced the thin atmosphere, descending toward the fractured industrial plain. Below, jagged remnants of metal towers jutted from the scorched soil, shadows stretching long under the pale twin suns. Mercer's eyes scanned the horizon with steady precision, cataloging cover points, likely ambush zones, and open kill corridors. He did not speak. His squad did not need instructions. Years of synchronized training allowed communication through subtle nods, flicks of the wrist, even the angle of a shoulder. The ramp lowered, and the first human boots hit the dust. The sound was muffled against the wind, but the aliens above still registered it through their monitoring grids. A whisper of amusement had already begun to rise among them. Projectile weapons, minimal shielding, primitive formation tactics. What a curious display of resilience the humans presented. Mercer gestured, subtle but deliberate, and his men fanned out, taking cover behind broken girders and scorched machinery. The aliens had already deployed forward drones, sleek and serpentine, carrying energy disruptors that hummed like living organisms. The first volley struck, and the humans dropped instantly, weapons rising into position. Hale fired the initial rounds, and the crack of the M4 was a sharp punctuation against the alien hum. Each burst found its mark with uncanny precision, hitting structural weak points in the drone's armor. A volley of plasma glanced off a reinforced panel, but a follow-up round tore through a joint, and the drone collapsed into a smoldering heap. Wynn swapped magazines with practice speed, and Rourke adjusted a suppression line while Mercer moved forward, eyes scanning for the next threat. The aliens faltered. Their first wave had anticipated a disorganized response. They had expected retreat, panic, maybe even surrender. The humans' response was instead calm, methodical, terrifying in its simplicity. Each man trusted his rifle, each man trusted the other, and together they became a living mechanism, fluid, adaptive, relentless. A hovering combat unit descended from above, energy cannons charging in a bright cascade of light. Mercer raised his weapon, calculated range, and squeezed the trigger in controlled bursts. The unit shuddered, sparks flying as kinetic rounds tore through its energy shielding, forcing it to veer off course. The aliens above blinked in confusion. No species had ever sustained a barrage like this with so little apparent infrastructure. Rourke shouted over the wind, directing Hale to flank left while Wynn covered their rear. Mercer moved, covering ground that would have left less disciplined soldiers exposed. They advanced with purpose, each movement calculated to maximize both offense and defense. The battlefield, meant to showcase alien superiority, was quickly becoming a stage for human ingenuity. From the aliens' vantage point, disbelief rippled through the command network. Adjust strategy. Carthel barked into his multilingual comm interface. These creatures, they are not performing as predicted. Engage with all available suppressive arrays. The humans did not panic. Mercer ducked behind a twisted girder, keeping his shoulders low as the next volley of plasma swept the ground where they had been moments before. The M4 fired in rhythm, each round synchronized with the recoil, the magazine changes, the shifting weight of their bodies. It was more than a weapon. It was a partner, a constant in the chaos, a trusted extension of their will. Hale dropped another drone, this one more heavily armored, with pinpoint shots that targeted weak spots the aliens had assumed would be irrelevant. Wynn's fire forced another unit to retreat prematurely, its energy reserves nearly depleted from defensive maneuvers. Rourke moved with efficiency, covering gaps, ensuring no one was left exposed. Mercer's eyes caught movement on a ridge, where an alien marksman had taken position, aiming a high-caliber plasma rifle directly at the squad. He fired 3 rounds in rapid succession, each finding a precise spot on the alien's armor joint, and the sniper unit collapsed, sparks cascading across its exoskeleton. The aliens above went silent. No one laughed. "Do you see this?" Kesh whispered over the comm channel, disbelief thick in the translation. They are human. They are surviving." Mercer scanned his squad. Not a man flinched. Not a weapon faltered. He spoke once, quietly into his comm, "Hold the line. Watch each other's 6. Engage only when necessary. The rest we adapt." The aliens began to understand, too late, that the fight was not about firepower alone. Each human move, each controlled burst from their rifles, demonstrated a doctrine built from centuries of conflict on worlds that demanded endurance, ingenuity, and cooperation. The M4 was not a relic. It was a reliable instrument wielded by men who knew its every nuance, every vibration, every quirk of recoil. The first alien wave broke. Units that had expected minimal resistance were now falling back in uncoordinated retreat. Mercer's squad pressed forward methodically, using cover, maintaining suppression, and taking advantage of every mistake the enemy made. Each M4 round tore through defenses. Each movement sowed confusion. Each successful maneuver reinforced the alien realization. The humans were not merely surviving. They were winning. Mercer paused briefly, crouched behind a twisted tower, and observed the battlefield. The smoke of spent rounds mingled with the acrid scent of scorched metal. His squad waited silently, magazines swapped, fingers steady on triggers, eyes sharp. In the distance, alien units recalibrated, but the rhythm of human fire dictated the tempo now. Rourke leaned slightly toward Mercer. They didn't expect this," he said, tone laced with both triumph and disbelief. "No," Mercer replied. "They expected guns. They got men." A distant rumble indicated another wave preparing, heavier, faster, more lethal. Mercer checked his ammo, then his squad. The M4 was ready, as they were. The battlefield had changed. The aliens' confidence had faltered. The first shock had been delivered. Now the humans would show them the cost of underestimating discipline, precision, and adaptability. The laughter had stopped. The fight had begun. The battlefield had grown quieter, but the tension was far from dissipated. Smoke curled from the jagged towers, forming thick gray columns that twisted in the wind. Mercer scanned the horizon, noting the positions of the surviving alien units. They were reorganizing, heavier armored walkers moving into formation, their energy shields pulsing as they recalibrated. The humans had made their first stand, but Mercer knew the aliens would not yield. "Flank left," he instructed, his voice calm but firm. "Hale, cover Overwatch. Rourke, watch the rear. Win, stay mobile, keep the line tight." Each man moved with practiced precision, weapons raised, eyes scanning. Every motion was instinct, refined through countless drills, every command unspoken yet understood. The aliens advanced cautiously this time, warily observing the humans who had survived their initial assault. The larger units were designed for overwhelming force, but Mercer had already noted their predictable patterns. The humans exploited every opening, bursts of fire to disable mobility, suppressive fire to force retreat, and maneuvering that made the battlefield a maze for the overconfident alien troops. Hale crouched behind a fallen girder and fired at the nearest walker's sensor array. Sparks flew as the alien unit shuddered, forcing it to slow. Wind moved forward, delivering precise rounds to the joint of its legs, causing it to topple partially before regaining balance. Rourke ducked low and delivered suppressive fire to the flanking drones, buying Mercer the time he needed to direct their positioning. The humans adapted to each alien advance, turning every misstep into an advantage. When plasma cannons overheated, they pressed the attack. When alien units fell back to reorganize, they pursued methodically, leaving no room for recovery. The M4 rifles were their instruments, precise, reliable, and brutally consistent. Each shot was deliberate, a calculated measure against the enemy's strengths. Above, alien commanders watched through tactical feeds, their disbelief mounting. Why are they so coordinated? Carthel's voice hissed, frustration breaking through the usual measured tones. Adjust. Compensate. They should falter. They did not. Mercer signaled a shift in formation. The squad adjusted seamlessly, moving into positions that maximized cover and firing angles. Every man trusted the other to hold their assigned sector. Every man trusted the rhythm of their rifles. The M4s sang in short, controlled bursts, each round punctuating the alien advance. One particularly massive walker lumbered forward, energy shields glowing, claws designed to tear through anything in its path. Mercer aimed at the base of its forelimb, instructing Hale to focus fire on the opposite side. The unit staggered, sparks igniting across its chassis as rounds tore into weak points the aliens had assumed invulnerable. Wynne dropped a magazine and continued firing, ensuring that the machine could not regain balance. Rourke adjusted his aim to cover approaching drones, ensuring that no flank was left unmonitored. The aliens began to hesitate. Their doctrine, built on overwhelming technology and superior firepower, had no strategy for humans who could adapt faster than calculations could predict. The battlefield was no longer controlled by lasers or shields but by instinct, precision, and cooperation, the unquantifiable traits of men trained to survive. Mercer's mind was steady, calculating, observing. Every move, every shot, every adjustment was deliberate. He understood that they were not simply resisting, they were setting a standard. Every alien unit that faltered, every miscalculation, reinforced the effectiveness of human tactics. As the engagement continued, the aliens tried to introduce heavier artillery and reinforcements, expecting the humans to break under pressure. Mercer anticipated each adjustment, using cover, suppressive fire, and rapid flanking maneuvers. The humans repaired minor weapon jams in seconds, shared ammunition without hesitation, and exploited every structural weakness. Hale fired another round, hitting the center of an alien shield generator, causing it to flicker and collapse. Wynne pressed forward, ensuring no enemy unit could regain control of the sector. Rourke moved with unwavering focus, ensuring their rear remained secure. Mercer directed the flow of battle like a conductor, each man a note in a deadly symphony. Above, alien observers were silent, absorbing the reality they had refused to believe. Carthel's mandibles clicked, a sound akin to agitation. The humans were not just surviving, they were defining the terms of engagement. Their weapons were simple, their movements precise, their coordination flawless. Technology alone had not won the day. Ingenuity, adaptability, and discipline had. Mercer allowed himself a brief glance at his men. Each face reflected focus and determination, none showing panic, none betraying fatigue. They had pushed through the initial shock of alien superiority and turned it into advantage. Each rifle in their hands had become more than a weapon, it was a statement. A massive alien walker advanced again, the ground trembling under its weight. Mercer assessed the terrain and gave a single command: center fire on weak points, now. Cover each other's six. The squad responded instantly, every round striking calculated targets. Sparks flew, shields faltered, and the unit staggered before collapsing. The aliens' attempt to regain initiative had failed. The battlefield echoed with the sound of human rifles, their bursts methodical, unrelenting. The aliens realized, too late, that the fight was no longer about weaponry or armor. It was about strategy, discipline, and the unbreakable will of men who trusted each other implicitly. Mercer moved forward, his squad covering him, eyes sweeping for threats. Every M4 was in rhythm, every movement precise. The humans had forced the aliens to adapt to them, reversing the assumed hierarchy of power. For the first time, the aliens hesitated not because of technology, but because of human determination. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the twisted metal and scorched earth. Mercer paused for a moment, taking in the battlefield. The aliens were regrouping, slower, more cautious. Their confidence had eroded. The humans had proven that adaptability, coordination, and trust could overcome superior firepower. Rourke whispered, almost reverently, "They didn't expect this." "No," Mercer replied, tightening his grip on the rifle. "They expected a fight. They didn't expect us." The squad pressed forward as the shadows lengthened. The M4S continued to bark in short, precise bursts, each echo across the battlefield a reminder that humans were not merely participants, they were the defining force. And above it all, in the command towers and observation decks, alien laughter had vanished entirely, replaced by a growing, uneasy respect. The humans had survived. They had adapted. And the cost of underestimating them was becoming painfully clear. The next wave of aliens approached, heavier and faster, but Mercer and his squad were ready. Every movement had a purpose. Every shot had intent. Every man trusted the other to hold the line. The humans had learned to turn disadvantage into advantage, mockery into opportunity. And as the alien forces hesitated at the edge of their confidence, Mercer knew that the tide of the battle had irrevocably shifted. The fight was far from over. But for the first time, the humans held the momentum, and the aliens understood that they had misjudged the war. The final wave of alien forces advanced across the fractured plain, their massive silhouettes dark against the dying light of the twin suns. Mercer crouched behind a collapsed tower, surveying the field with unshakable calm. Every foot of terrain had been mapped in his mind, every enemy movement anticipated. His squad mirrored his composure, each man poised with weapon ready, eyes sharp, heart steady. The battlefield had shifted. What had once been a stage for alien superiority was now theirs to define. Hale fired the first shot, a short controlled burst that clipped the joint of a towering walker. Sparks showered the air as the alien unit faltered. Wind followed with precision fire to the exposed undercarriage, exploiting weaknesses the aliens had assumed protected. Rourke's suppression covered their flank, ensuring no reinforcements could maneuver unchecked. Mercer's hands moved like extensions of his mind, guiding the rhythm of fire and movement, each command unspoken yet understood. The alien commanders, for the first time, displayed hesitation. Their doctrine, predicated on overwhelming power and calculated technological superiority, could not account for humans who fought with adaptability, coordination, and unwavering resolve. Every attack they launched was met with precision, every advance disrupted, every misstep punished by the disciplined volley of M4 fire. A massive walker lunged forward, its claws designed to crush the living beneath them. Mercer fired 3 bursts, aiming at its knee joints. Hale adjusted his aim, targeting the center of its energy core, while Wind delivered steady fire to its back armor. Sparks and smoke erupted as the unit staggered and collapsed, sending shockwaves across the field. Rourke ducked low, covering approaching drones with careful suppression. The aliens' attempt to dominate had failed, and the humans pressed the advantage with relentless efficiency. Mercer signaled a coordinated push. Each man moved in sync, covering angles, exploiting cover, and maintaining overlapping fields of fire. The M4S roared in controlled bursts, each round a precise measure of lethal intent. Above the battlefield, alien observers faltered in disbelief. The humans were no longer merely surviving, they were dictating the engagement, shaping the fight according to their terms, exploiting weaknesses the aliens had ignored in their arrogance. The alien leadership issued frantic orders, attempting to reorganize their scattered units. But the humans had already adapted. They pressed forward systematically, exploiting every tactical opening, turning improvised cover into deadly choke points. Every miscalculation by the aliens became an opportunity, every hesitation a liability. Mercer's squad was a coordinated machine, their M4S extensions of their resolve, their trust in one another absolute. A final group of elite alien warriors advanced, armored and armed with energy disruptors designed to tear through human defenses. Mercer assessed them quickly. He ordered Hale to the right flank, Wind to suppress from high ground, Rourke to cover the rear. The humans moved with silent precision, each step deliberate, each shot calculated. The elite warriors charged, expecting fear, expecting chaos, expecting retreat. They found none. The firefight was brutal but controlled. Mercer's commands guided the tempo, each burst of fire finding its mark, each movement synchronized with the others. The aliens faltered under the relentless human assault. One by one, elite units fell, their shields shattered, their tactics rendered ineffective against men who adapted faster than calculations could predict. The battlefield echoed with the sound of disciplined gunfire, the rhythm of M4 rounds a testament to human ingenuity and resolve. Above the field, alien observers whispered among themselves, disbelief turning to respect. Carthel's mandibles clicked with unease. They, he murmured, voice tinged with incredulity. They are relentless. Not for the weapon, but for the minds behind it. The realization hit them hard. Humans were not defined by their technology, but by their discipline, adaptability, and unwavering focus. Mercer's squad pressed the assault to the last defensive line. Each man moved with confidence, their rifles singing in unison. The aliens' morale broke as their formations disintegrated. Command and control faltered, leaving individual units isolated and vulnerable. The humans capitalized on every weakness, every hesitation, every flawed calculation. When the dust finally settled, the battlefield lay silent, scorched and littered with the remnants of alien technology. The humans stood intact, breathing steadily, eyes alert, weapons still ready. Mercer lowered his rifle only slightly, checking each squad member with a single nod. Hail, win, and Rourke mirrored his composure, the quiet acknowledgement of victory shared without words. The aliens had stopped laughing long before. The first wave of mockery had faded into disbelief, then into fear, and finally into grudging respect. Mercer understood it without needing to hear the words. They had proven the simple truth. The rifle was not the threat. The man who wielded it was. Mercer moved through his squad, inspecting equipment, checking ammunition, and ensuring no vulnerability remained. Each man attended to his rifle, each weapon a trusted companion through the chaos. The battlefield had been a crucible, and the humans had emerged not only unbroken but superior in the only measure that mattered: effectiveness. As Mercer scanned the horizon, he felt no triumph, no exhilaration, only awareness and readiness. The humans had survived, adapted, and dominated, but the galaxy would always demand more. The M4 was a tool, yes, but its true power lay in the hands of those who refused to yield, who trusted each other implicitly, and who faced every challenge with focus and discipline. A distant rumble reminded them that conflict never truly ended. Mercer's gaze fell on the last alien units retreating, cautious and wary. The laughter had been silenced. Respect had been earned. And somewhere, beyond the horizon, the galaxy had begun to take note. Mercer allowed himself a quiet exhale. He adjusted the rifle across his chest, eyes sweeping the battlefield one last time. "Stay sharp," he murmured to his squad. "This isn't over." The men nodded, silent affirmation of shared understanding and unspoken bond. The sun dipped fully behind the jagged towers, casting the scorched plain into shadow. The humans moved forward, disciplined and unbroken, leaving the echoes of laughter behind. In the end, it had never been about the weapon. It had always been about the men who wielded it. And the galaxy would never underestimate them again.